one of my most favorite shows, Sisters of Leisure with Tracy and Mattel. Shell, take it away, sisters.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in with Sisters of Leisure. We are so honored and happy to see you today. And I hope you all had an amazing day. I am Tracy, one half of Sisters of Leisure, where we are living every day and seeking and understanding real events.
And I am Michelle, the little sister. And you know what? So let me just say, I am so excited about today's person, Robin Thorne, who's coming on our show. Because first off, I met Robin at a retreat. It was a retreat where it was just a beautiful moment for us to, just go within and just love on ourselves. And I was around a group of women that were absolutely beautiful. And Robin was part of that group. And I tell you what, when I got home to find out that she was CEO of her company, CTI, and it is like a construction company. And I was just super excited. And she's a founder of a nonprofit Demo Chick. So Robin, thank you for coming to talk to Tracy and I today. Tell us a little bit about your company.
All right, I will be compliant during this interview, but I'm just going to divert for just a moment, just to say that one of the things that I really appreciated about that retreat is it wasn't about who we were and our accomplishments. We never had a chance to share that, which I thought was great because I'm so used to, sharing it. So I thought, wow, this is so cool. I mean, people talked amongst themselves, but it wasn't about that. So that's funny. You should say, oh, I got home and found out. So
I got home and I was just like, oh my goodness. Like, this is some real beautiful stuff. And I just enjoyed talking to you. And then, that was just, it was a beautiful thing. So it was beautiful. Beautiful.
Well, I'm glad you didn't know then, because sometimes when people find out, they start asking me questions because they think I know everything, so I have a chemical engineering degree. And so graduated a long time ago. Like a month ago, my brother-in-law called me. He said, I have a chemistry question. And I'm like, I probably don't have an answer. Last time I looked at a chemistry book, so it's kind of funny. And even like when I meet men and they find out I'm an engineer, then they say something that they think sounds smart, but it really doesn't.
Yeah.
They try to sound smart. And it's like, oh my goodness. So I don't even say it.
You don't tell anyone.
People say, well, what do you do? I say, I'm a consultant.
Yes, I think that's what you told me, Robin.
Probably, yeah, because it's just a lot to share. And I will share with your audience because that's why I'm here, right?
Okay, so Robin is so tell us, what is environmental regulation compliance? What is that?
Okay, so what it is, I always say that we help keep the environment safe, not because we're saving whales or we're recycling, but you know how you hear about the chemical spills in the ocean?
Yeah.
Or chemical spills on land, stuff being contaminated. Well, that's not supposed to happen. And companies are supposed to have measures in place so that it doesn't happen, right? So if you have a certain hazardous material, it should be in a tank that can contain it. You should have a berm around that tank so that if you get a spill, it's not going to go to the environment, but it can be contained. So there's all these regulations that help hazardous materials stay on the property where they are, right? And so companies make widgets, they don't know all these regulations. So that's where we come in. We're the experts. We can tell them what they need to do to follow environmental regulations.
I love that.
That makes sense, right? That's like oversimplified, but it makes sense.
That makes a whole lot of sense. So yeah, because of, chemicals are transported all throughout the United States, everywhere, and you help the businesses keep the government off their butt, pretty much.
Right. And I'm glad you said that, because we don't do a lot of this, but one company I worked for, we used to receive chemicals in trucks and in rail cars. So the DOT has regulations on how those are being transported.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a lot of regulations there in the book. So if you say, well, how are we supposed to transport this material? I can look in the regulation book and find a regulation related pertaining to that material and the type of vessel it's in and provide you with that information. And the same with another hazardous material we deal with is lead and asbestos. Right, lead-based paint and asbestos. People say,
Yeah.
"Oh, I have popcorn ceiling." Well, it's fine as long as it's in the ceiling, but when you start digging into it, and now it's airborne, and that's how it can get in your system, that's when it becomes an issue. So anytime there's a renovation of a commercial building, including churches, there should be lead and asbestos testing, lead-based paint and asbestos testing. And if you find those materials, they have to be removed before construction can begin.
Okay. You know what? When I watch HGTV, they have that, when y'all come in, they like, oh, we gotta shut it down for 3 weeks because we gotta get this thing taken care of because they gotta stay safe. Okay, see?
Exactly. And it's funny because people will, once you notify the environmental professional, we can't say, oh, don't worry about it, right? Once you notify us, we're not doctors. You know how doctors take that oath. We don't take an oath, but just being a professional and being aware, once I'm aware of it, like, don't invite me in because now I got to write a report.
Yeah.
I'm not an inspector, I'm on your side. But once I'm aware of it, now I have a responsibility to make you aware of it in writing. And now you have to protect your employees. So you can't say, oh, come and check it out and tell me what I have, but don't give me a report. I'm not going to call the authorities on you, but if you don't want to know, don't invite me to come out.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, that makes
best
sense
to come out because you want to be safe and you want the people around you to be safe.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's like, okay, I have, like you say, you don't have an oath, but if you tell me, I gotta make sure everything's right because now I'm attached to it.
Right.
So Robin, what made you go into that?
Yeah.
Well, you see this equipment behind me?
Yeah.
I like to play on those things. No, I'm just kidding. So I have actually, I'm a chemical engineer. I went to school, went to Drexel University in Philadelphia, but I always like to share that I started at the community college because sometimes people are like, oh, I don't want to go to community college. Well, that's where I went because when I went to school, I was an older student. I had been out of school for many years. So I had to start at the community college because I was a little nervous. I was like, oh, it's been like 8 years. And I knew I wanted to be an engineer, and it was very intimidating to look at all the math and the physics and the chemistry. So I was like, I need to start slow. And so I went to Community College of Philadelphia on a part-time basis, and then transferred to Drexel University and was full-time. And it was very, very difficult because I'm competing. When you're in college, you're competing, right? Because they have that grading curve. So here I am competing with students whose maybe parents were engineers or went to engineering high schools. But it was one of those things where I was determined to succeed, right? Although it was very intimidating, I said, I'd rather try it and fail than 20 years later saying, oh, I wish I tried it, or I wish I tried to become an engineer. And so as being an engineer, of course, I worked in the field. I worked in production as I want to say a foam engineer, polyurethane foam. So a production manager. And that was in Philly because I'm from Philly originally. And then after a couple of years of working there, I transferred to California and I continued to work in manufacturing. And then I had the opportunity to move into the regulatory compliance division. And I always say that magical things happen when you say yes, right? You're given an opportunity and you're like, okay, I'll do it, yes. And so that was, back in 2001. That's where it began for me. But it was my interest in math and science, and I was really good at math. I liked math a lot. And that's what led me into engineering.
Now, I looked at your nonprofit website. And I watched this young lady, Serene. She is so enthusiastic. And I'm just like, why did you start your nonprofit, Demo Chicks? And, how do you like, let me see, I have a question here. And what is the levels of the program?
That is a loaded question. So now I can really reference the stuff behind me. So I started Demo Chicks. I had a project. My first government project was the demolition of a federal prison in California. And there were about 122 structures. We had single story, 2-story, we had tanks that we took down. And when I looked at that project, I was like, wow, this is a whole curriculum, because they had a lot of lead and asbestos. The report was 20 years old, so we had to redo the report. And then once you get rid of the asbestos, now you can knock down the building. And when you knock down the building, you think, what do you think you do with the trash? When you knock a building down, what do you think? This is interactive. No, I know it's interactive.
Okay.
Just show, right? But what do you think you do with the trash once you crush a building?
That's a good question. I'll take it to
Put it
the
in a plastic bag.
take
You
it
put it
to
in
the
a
dump.
plastic bag, and then what?
Take it to the dump.
Okay, so right. I mean, I'm not saying that I operate the equipment. I'm learning too, right? Because my superintendent is awesome. So you segregate the waste, right? Because some of it you can recycle. You know how people be stealing pipes and stuff so that they can, I know that's negative, but yeah, so you have some of that. So you're going to segregate that so you can recycle it. And on these projects, there's waste minimization goals. So we might have to reuse 60% of the materials. So we had concrete, like we had some bunkers, basements that we had to fill. So we were able to use the concrete, crush it on site and use it to fill the bunkers. You can recycle asphalt. So you have to segregate the waste as you pull down the building. You can't just crush the building. You might, you have to remove it and separate it. So it takes skill. I wish I had a video I would show you. And so I'm watching this, and then you can take it to the dumpster. I mean, not a dumpster, but you take it to a facility, but you have to schedule that, right? Because if everybody's taking their waste there, you got these trucks piled up, and what's the capacity of the facility? So there's a lot that goes into this. And then the hazardous materials, you take it somewhere else. And I said, man, this is pretty incredible. This is a curriculum. Like, more people need to know about this. And I would talk about it because I was so excited about the project. And I talk about it, and the whole table, they'd be listening. And I'm like, okay, make me a little nervous. I'm like, that's a lot of energy coming my way, And I was like, wow, people really want to hear about this. I should do a podcast. No, I didn't say that. But so if my friend Melissa's listening, if I don't tell this part, she's gonna talk about me. So I was meeting with Melissa, who I went to drugs with, and we were in Jersey at this Italian restaurant. We were talking about, she was like, do y'all have a bleeper? I'll bleep myself.
No.
She was like, you're a bad bleep. You knock bleep down.
Yes.
Right. So that's what she said. And then she didn't say bleeps though. And we were talking about, what do we do with this? Oh, we can design a clothing line for women and demolition and all this stuff, and looked into that. But the clothing line is a whole nother industry, right?
Yeah.
And somehow from that conversation, and time went by, and Demo Chicks was born. My nephew created the image.
Really?
And my nephew, Serene's brother, Serene, you saw in the video,
Yes.
or the website, her brother created the logo. And then I said, well, I'm a chemical engineer, so I'm in that STEM field. And I thought demolition would be too limited to just focus on demolition. So we said, we'll focus on non-traditional careers. And then I was like, okay. So we say we introduce girls to non-traditional careers and empower the women in them.
Yes.
So I introduce the girls, and the women who are already in them, we want to have networking events. So it was born in 2019. Well, officially launched, but the project happened in 18. The end of that year, my sister started doing workshops in Philly. And it's since evolved. So right before the pandemic, I was going to start doing workshops in California, and then the pandemic hit. And so my sister went online, because she taught online like 10 years ago. So she developed a curriculum and we start doing hands-on workshops online. And the idea was to separate, because you can put them in different rooms, but we found that we mainly had the younger students. And so we came up with experiments where the parents either had the supplies in their home or they could buy it. Like you can go get toothpicks and marshmallows for architecture and build a structure, or the fizzy lemon soda. You can get baking soda and lemon juice and water. So we looked at experiments that they could actually do. And I was so impressed when my sister and Serene, because they would do the workshops together, did the first. I was like, these are actually involved and interacting. And so our online program is our K-8 program. And then for college students, we've started providing scholarships and mentoring. Right. We wanted to do the mentoring component for the high school, but then you have to go through a lot if they're under 18. And I'm running my company. Demo Chicks is really a passion and a couple of volunteers, but I'm happy to say that we are getting ready to hire someone. I had someone working part-time, but anyway, so that's what we do. So we have the K-8 online. And this year we did a couple in-person workshops this year. We were at a Juneteenth event doing experiments in Long Beach. We were at the Jazz Festival last month in the 9th District doing online workshop. Not online, in-person workshops. And it's pretty exciting. We have a workshop going now with the Long Beach Center for Economic Inclusion. So we have a 4-week workshop. One's online, one's going to be in person. And the students that complete all 5 will get a stipend.
I love that. So are you exclusive? So it's strictly for the Long Beach, California area, or are you?
Well, no, we started in Philly, but because of the pandemic and it being online, we've had people register as far as Nigeria. We've had people in Puerto Rico. You still got Pennsylvania, Georgia, Florida. Because what I'm being told, if you look at some of the images, because it's really like in our executive summary, we don't call out Black. We just say girls, introducing girls. But if you look at our imagery, you're going to attract our girls. Yes. And in California, it's very diverse. But I've had people like my friend who's in Jacksonville. She's like, oh my God, there's so many Black girls here who don't know anyone like you. Right? They need to know you. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll come, to California, we'll come to Florida. And then I had another friend in Ohio. I'm like, okay, make it happen. So we'll go wherever the opportunity is because it's important to get the message out.
Oh, I love that. And it is so important for, I have the word on the tip of my tongue, but just for young ladies to see other young ladies that look like them in these fields.
Right.
Yeah, because it's so important because it's like the limits are being removed. It's not, we're not limited. We're not in the box. You know what I'm saying? It's limitless.
And one thing I forgot to mention about that prison project, we had our general laborers. So those are the folks who were just out there kind of observing, maybe doing traffic control. They were making $40 an hour. And that got my attention too, because I was like, wait a minute, not everybody's going to get a 4-year degree, right? But there's still opportunities in construction and construction trade. And we're talking with Long Beach City College, because I believe in representation. And as an organization, we believe in see it, be it. So we want to make sure that we're present and we're being seen. So when there is an opportunity to have a booth at the college, we'll go. Because there's a lot out there and people have options.
People have options.
I said you're a triple threat: architecture, construction, and engineering. I was like, wow, you have it all. That is,
you're good. Funny.
Yeah. Oh, and she's funny too.
Tracy's funny.
No, and you're funny.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know, so my friend that I was at the Italian restaurant with, so she's like, we're not like all the engineers, we're not what people expect us to be and all this stuff. Like, okay.
Yeah.
So we have
Hey,
personalities.
Exactly. Some personality, some pizzazz in there. I just love it. So what, I know that things aren't always going to be easy, but you have broken barriers and have really, I know there's like a lot of pressure, a lot of things that could be going on, especially as a beginning business owner in this field or whatever. What keeps you going? What keeps you motivated to keep breaking those barriers?
Well, I say I like to live indoors and eat good. So I gotta, no, I think it's, I look at it because that's a question I get just as an entrepreneur, because I've had my business for 13 years. And so the CTI business, because people don't even think, they think that Demo Chicks is actually knocking the buildings down. It's like, no, CTI knocks them down, but but it's great for marketing because I stop explaining it when they say, do your Demo Chicks do? And I'm like, yes, because I know it's going to be CTI, but early on, I think not fell in love, but freedom over security. So as I grew my business, and as an entrepreneur, unless you start your business with a contract, because that happens, and it happened for me, I knew my service, my trade. I didn't know a whole lot about business. I thought I did because it's an exchange, right? You do something, you get money, but there's a whole lot more to it. And so there were times when I didn't have a client or I didn't know how bills were going to be paid. But looking back, it was faith, right? I mean, it's not like, oh, I prayed every day, but what would have kept me going? Because I believed that I was going to be successful, and faith is a part of that. And and there have been some real difficult days, but looking back, I don't ever remember saying, oh my gosh, I'm so sad. I just remember saying I should get a job or or applying for a job thinking I could get some business out of it, or I was so close to getting a job. And even in the interview, I didn't even interview well because I was interviewing like an entrepreneur, because I just really, I was like, this is going to work. But no, there was a time. So my father passed in 2016 and I was able to be there with him. So I was home. I got an award at my university in May, and I was there with my dad. So I came back to California, and then he was sick. So that weekend he was sick and we didn't know it, but they diagnosed him with lung cancer. And I've heard stories about lung cancer. So I was like, man, so I said, I'm going home for Father's Day. So I went home in June and my dad passed in August, and I was able to be there the whole time with him. And I was like, my business wasn't doing well. And I was like, all right, God, that's why you've had me in business for myself, because we knew this was coming. I was able to be there with my dad. I was like, I'm going back to California and find me a job. The freedom to be able to be there with him. And that's when things turned around. Like in 2017, because prior to that, I mean, I was okay. Like the project would come in just in time, check would come, it was okay. I think I only had to ask my mom for help with my rent twice. But, things were okay. But after like 17, I've had a W-2 ever since then.
Wow.
I love it.
People say, well, your dad's up there looking down on you. But it was interesting. I was ready. I was like, okay, I was able to spend time with my dad. I'm good. That was nice, fine, wonderful. So, and he was the number one supporter. He lived in Delaware, and he actually had my car magnet on his car. My company magnet, rather. I'm sorry. Yeah. And I remember when he had business cards. He said he was a trade merchant because he was in the service. I'm like, what is that? And then he had the magnet. And I remember he said, do you want me to put your number or my number? I was like, my number, because if they call you, but he put his number. But yeah, he was really my number one fan.
Oh, that's awesome. I love how you said you had that freedom.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you had to have that faith, because God is going to work it out. It's just not in our timing,
Right.
but
It's always
it looks,
perfect timing though.
it is. It really is.
It always, because even right now, I needed to hear you say that things were a little stressful. You know what I'm saying? It got tight, but you just knew, you had that faith that everything was going to work out just fine. Yeah, I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
So
It always does, right? When we're doing the right thing, I mean, you use wisdom. If it, if it was like, okay, this just is not the path you're supposed to be on, go find a job,
yeah,
but it wasn't that way. I mean, doors were opening. I remember, okay, so, here we go. Y'all got me telling it all. So my job, because I was working, I didn't just say, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and be full-time. But when my job found out that I had a business, they fired me. Yeah, it's March 25th. We got 5 minutes. March 25th, 2011. And the reason why I remember that date, because I was like, oh my God, my insurance ends the end of the month.
Yeah.
Yeah, so shucks. Yeah, so it was like, and I was like, oh, freedom, yay. Now I can really do my business. So, and if that hadn't happened, I don't know if I would have continued with the business, because I was getting to a place where I had to make a decision. And who's going to walk away from a job when you don't have all that money coming in? So it was like, oh, this is a sign. And I, never looked back.
Yeah. So how can people get in touch with you if they're wanting consultation services?
Oh, if they want to, someone to do some environmental consulting for them?
Correct.
Yeah, well, they can always visit the website. It's CTI Enviro. You don't have to say www anymore, huh? CTI Enviro. I don't know, we put it in the chat or somewhere. So CTI ENVIRO. And for Demo Chicks, DEMOCHICKS.org.
We're going to make sure those are going to go on our our social media pages, and when we post it on YouTube and everything, so that stuff will be there. Like, this was I couldn't wait, because I knew you were gonna drop some gems and I was gonna pick them right on up. And that young ladies, young men, anyone needs to know that, listen, whatever it is that you want, that sets deep in your heart to do, you can do it. It's for you. It is for you. Do it. Don't doubt it. Just understand that you can do it. You can do it. So
at
this
any
is
age. It doesn't matter your age.
Right?
Don't say, well, I gotta be this age to do this, or I gotta be that age to do that. Whatever it is that you desire, you want to do, you're passionate about it, just go for it.
Yeah. Yes, because Miss Robin here just really just summed it up perfectly. Had a enjoy, and then you enjoy what you do, so you don't feel like you're at work every day.
They say that, but I mean, I enjoy it, but you have challenges. You have people get on your nerves. You have customers get on your nerves. You have disappointments. It's just, sometimes it's just all about managing stuff that's like, oh my God, what am I doing? Let me play the lottery. So every day, I mean, I heard that. I mean, even Demo Chicks, that's my passion and I love it. But when you run an organization and things are in order, you got to keep things in order. It's work.
Yeah.
But the reward is great, right? So I'm still looking for that. Yeah, I don't know it.
It's somewhere out there.
I'm sure it's people. That's not my experience.
And you know what? And another thing, and I know we're going to be having to leave in just a few minutes, but you still are educating yourself. You're still in school. You're still learning. You're still doing things to expand. Some people would think they're finished once they hit a certain part of their business.
Yeah, this is my 4th day. This is a 10-day class, 4 days in September, 3 days in October, 3 days in November. So I've been here from 9 to 4, Thursday through Sunday. And I was like, oh my gosh. But it's been good information. But yeah, you got to keep learning. And the other nugget it's important too is to seek wise counsel. So I have lots of mentors, because mentors don't always have to be formal, but just people you can go to who can advise you, who've been there, and some people are just wise, and that's really important to have
Yes.
someone to ask questions of.
Well, Robin, we just thank you so much for being on Sisters of Leisure. We appreciate you dropping those gems. We appreciate you servicing with your CTI company and your demo chicks. We just thank you so much for just gracing our presence.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for
Yes.
thinking enough of me to invite me. I really appreciate this.
Absolutely. And y'all, I guess 2 more weeks. Two more weeks. We'll see y'all.
Yeah. Thank y'all. Have a good one.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.